Tonight, the national housing crisis. It's getting so bad in some areas that local families are being forced to move into caravan parks and campgrounds. Now, one council is taking action.
Australia is facing a housing rental crisis.
A huge crisis, effectively, on housing affordability.
Demand is increasing and supply is declining.
The last time Oz faced a housing crisis this bad, it led to a pretty severe case of witchicide.
No, it was an accident. I didn't mean to kill anybody.
Here in the other Oz, the problem's a bit different, with rents set to go up by $5,200 a year by 2024 in many parts of the country. And that's for the people who are lucky enough to find a place.
We've been living without power and whatnot for almost 2 years now. When you're raising a teenage child, having keep them warm and a roof over their head, it's not an easy task. It's been extremely mentally draining.
Beck and her son Riley have been living in a shed without electricity after their home was damaged in the bushfires and then looted. And they're far from alone. In everywhere from WA to Queensland, caravan parks are at capacity as demand for housing outstrips supply. So what's going on? For one, COVID.
Throughout the pandemic, we've seen this really interesting trend where there's been more people leaving the capital cities to move to regional Australia and fewer people leaving the regions to move to the capitals. So what that means is that regional housing demand has really rocketed higher.
It's not just the sea and tree changes. Investors have had a big impact too, buying homes that remain empty for much of the year.
The Airbnb style of rentals has been one of the key factors reducing housing supply or rental supply across Australia. It simply means there's fewer rental homes available for long-term rents.
In regions like the New South Wales South Coast, the problem's been further compounded by the Black Summer bushfires, which destroyed thousands of homes.
Flames have ripped through 11,000 hectares.
Desperate for a solution, Eurobodalla Council has written to around 8,000 property owners who don't actually live in the area, begging them to make their houses available to long-term renters.
Finding a place in the Eurobodalla is virtually impossible. There's so many families camping in campgrounds, in tents. Even if you can just open it up just for the meantime, until something more permanent is established for these people, then, please, bring your heart out and do it.
Joining us now is Eurobodalla Shire Council Mayor Matthew Hatcher. Matt, just what does it do to a region to have all these houses sitting empty while locals struggle to find somewhere to live, let alone be able to afford somewhere to live?
Yeah, it's painful to watch. We've gone through crisis now for about 2.5 years in this region, and to now, after all of that, see people sleeping in cars or at primitive campgrounds, it is quite painful.
Matt, you've written thousands of letters to non-resident property owners asking them to allow locals to rent long term, but how hopeful are you that they will do that on goodwill alone?
I've got to be honest, I'm very hopeful. We did this after the fires as well, and we had a response of about 80 houses. This letter, it's gotten a lot of press coverage, obviously, leading up to it. It hasn't gone out yet. It's going out on Monday, and we've already had a lot of response in positive ways about it. It really is just that. It's a plea to people to, those that are in the financial position, that they can take this little bit of a short-term hit on their investment. It's really going to help out long-term for this region.
It's not just investors, though, who are, say, renting out to Airbnb. Like that's one thing. It would also include people for whom this is their holiday home and they go there multiple times a year, and so it doesn't really work for them to rent it to someone on a long-term basis. Are you asking those people to give up those holidays that they have every year?
Not at all. I mean, we need that tourism dollar coming into the Shire. I think really what this is a widespread letter that's going to a lot of people. If we get 10 homes out of this, that's going to take a lot of the pressure off what's going on. We got, that's 10 families off the streets tonight. So it's not a fix, I guess. It's really a Band-Aid. Everything we're looking at here locally is a Band-Aid until the state and federal government step in and do what they're supposed to do.
If this letter doesn't work, what's the next step? What's the extent of your mayoral power?
I guess that's quite limited at times, more than a mouthpiece really than anything else. I'm also writing to the Premier. That letter's going out on Monday also. Really, there's an amendment in the caravan park regulation that allows the managers of those parks to let people stay after a bushfire, after the pandemic, for up to 2 years. We're asking for a housing crisis wording to be added to that, because if we were able to open that up instantly, there is more supply on the market, and it's any of these little fixes we can do now until more money is spent on affordable and social housing.
Well, Matt, we wish you all the best. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.